welcome. A Matter of Action, I'm Wayne Morrow, and we have a special guest today. We have Art Thompson, President and CEO of the John Birch Society. Good afternoon, Art.
Good afternoon.
We're going to talk about a subject's been with the Birch Society for a long time. It's called the United Nations, Get Us Out. And we have a new reprint that we published about Get Us Out and top 10 reasons. So I wanted to ask Art if he would share some of his points and his history on the battle to get us out of the UN. And I know there's a list here, Art, but maybe you want to just go through some of the things that you experienced in the past and campaigns that we've had and maybe summarize sort of where it's going and how we're doing.
Well, actually, Get Us Out of the United Nations has been one of the first agenda items of the John Birch Society. When we started that agenda, most of the American people supported the United Nations. Within a relatively short period of time, by that I mean within 10 years, I would say, the majority of the American people were opposed to the United Nations. And this was due to a vast campaign that we were putting out reprints, books, putting up signs all around the country, going on radio, you name it, having speakers out there. But one of the things that people need to really know about the UN is that it is a world government. That is its goal. Now, if you take into consideration the wisdom of Lord Acton, the British nobleman, who said that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely, then you wouldn't want to have a world power at all.
Sure.
Because you would know that no matter who started it, no matter the reason they started it, no matter the structure they started it with, it would in and of itself become corrupt.
Right.
And once that happens, what happens to not just the freedom of the American people, but every person in the world?
Yeah.
There's nothing to stop it. And nothing to stop that corruption. When we have local corruption or something like that, we've always got something to fall back on. We have our local police, we have our city council, we have the citizens themselves, whatever.
Right.
But we will have lost everything in relationship to fighting a world corruption if we go into the UN.
Yeah, and it has a long history of doing that.
Yes.
It's kind of interesting to see President Trump is making some inroads of defunding some of the things that we've seen. UNESCO was one of them, and he's making some noise about, he gave a speech at the UN, says America will never be a socialist country. And it was kind of comical because I see a lot of the smirks in the audience because they're all dictator socialists. And I think that's the first time I probably have ever heard a president say that, right?
I think so. And as a matter of fact, every head of the United Nations has been either a socialist or a communist.
Yeah. It says in an article that we had here, it says it was a laundry list of them. It was, of course, Alger Hiss and Tigvee Lee and Dag Hammarskjöld and U Thant and Kurt Waldheim. You can go on, right? They're all socialists, right?
It was a brand or another.
Yeah, right. So, we have, as we've had reprints and we've had articles and we have speeches, it's amazing that not enough people really understand the dangers of the UN after all this time, huh?
Well, there's an internet idea that runs through people's minds, though, that it's not very good.
Yeah.
And this is what we've created over the years.
Yeah.
But pointing out all these details in these reprints is a real eye-opener for people.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's great because it talks through, as you can see, opposes national sovereignty. It flies in the face of our form of government.
That's
100%.
correct.
And it's interesting is that, are you aware, and this was written, the other day by Jack McManus, who's in as one of our reprints of our magazine, and so as I go around the U.S. and meet with members, is that it's hard for people to believe that the UN is really that evil until of late. I think they see the dangers of the UN.
Well, there have been a lot of stories come out to show that a lot of the leaders in the United Nations are basically crooks.
Yeah.
Not just their socialism, but they've stolen from other countries. They've gone in and occupied with troops and raped and pillaged.
Yeah.
I had a story one time of a Somali taxicab driver. I don't know where I was, but I asked him where he was from. He was obviously a foreign guy, but he was a U.S. citizen.
Yeah.
And he had served in the United States Marine Corps.
Right.
And so I told him, well, how did you become a citizen and all the rest of it? And he says, well, I served the Marine Corps. And I said, where did you serve? He says, Somalia. He could speak the language, so they put him in the intelligence units there. Yeah. And he told me, he said, while I was there, we had $1 million cash disappear.
Really?
Cash. So finally we investigated it and found out it was the UN personnel that had stolen it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But he says we couldn't do anything because they had immunity.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Nice trick. Huh?
Nice trick. So those sorts of things go on.
Yeah.
And then you look at the agenda items of what the UN has in the way of controlling the environment, controlling the water, promoting LGBT agenda, and all the rest of it. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, I know when their main topic right now is climate change, and I know they're pushing that like it was no tomorrow, right? The Green Deal, and it's if it ever even gets close to it, it'll suffocate everyone financially, especially the United States.
Well, people tend to forget we're not talking about controlling property. We're not talking about controlling the environment. We're not talking about controlling any of these things. What we're talking about is controlling people.
That's right.
Because people use property. People are involved in the environment and everything else. And so it's aimed at controlling the people, having power over the individual, where he loses his liberty.
Yeah, totalitarianism, isn't it?
It is.
Absolutely right.
In the name of all these other things.
So they just sugarcoat it to make it believe like it's a good thing.
Yeah.
One of the things I can remember is an example would be the Korean War, right? And that was a UN agenda.
We even had the UN flag fly higher than the U.S. flag in Korea.
Yeah, I've seen pictures of our military personnel wearing the blue berets, right, and representing the. And you see that in the EU or in Europe, where the military now reports to Brussels in the EU, and they give up their responsibility. So you can sort of see that cancer kind of creep across with the arm of the UN around it. I see that.
And talking about Korea, it's not only Korea where the UN actually controlled our troops. They controlled our troops through the UN regional agreement called SEATO, Southeast Treaty Organization, in Vietnam. Yeah. So we were not only under the orders of the UN in Korea, we were also under the edicts of the UN in South Vietnam and in the Middle East. We don't declare war anymore. We go to the Security Council, and they tell us what to do and where to go. And so we're in NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Doesn't take very long for the reader to go online and look up NATO to realize, wait a minute, this is not a pact to fight communism in Russia. This is a pact of getting all of these Western countries under the UN control. Right. Yeah. And so we were in the Middle East, still are, under NATO and things of that nature.
Yeah, another deceptive move, huh?
And we've never won a war since we joined the UN.
That's right.
They're all in state of flux, or we lost them,
like it's
or whatever.
Supposed to be, right?
That's right. The war in Korea isn't over.
No,
it's just a temporary armistice. We lost Vietnam.
Yeah.
Under the UN.
Of course.
And we don't win these wars in the Middle East either. We just leave them in a state of flux.
That's right. Always ongoing, huh?
Always ongoing.
Conflict always has to go on because it justifies their existence.
Exactly.
Doesn't it? Yeah, we have a bill here, H.R. 204. It's in our bulletin this month, and it's Get Us Out of the UN, H.R. 204, and it's a bill that Mike Rogers from Alabama put in. It's called American Sovereignty Restoration Act. And we're encouraging all of our members to write or call our congressmen and senators, congressmen, to support H.R. 204. And as the message gets out and as our president keeps on defunding certain programs, we hope the message rings true. So any closing, few more words you may want to say because we have a few seconds left?
Well, I do, and it's kind of a strange thing that I've been using lately. And that is, go to the book of Genesis in the Bible.
Okay.
Tells you in there what God wants in the way of a world government, which is none.
That's right. Tower of Babel is
the
a
Tower
failure.
of Babel.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, thank you so much. Remember, keep on birching. Your part matters. And for more information, call jbs.org or 1-800-JBS-USA1. Thank you. Till next time, keep birching.